They dragged him out of his car, slammed him with false charges, until he exposed who he really was. Late at night in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the streets were mostly quiet, save for the occasional hum of traffic lights flickering from red to green. Jamal Winslow, a seasoned assistant U.S. attorney, had just left dinner with colleagues. He wasn't thinking about work, injustice, or courtrooms, just home. But that changed the moment red and blue lights lit up in his rearview mirror. Sighing, he pulled over and reached for his wallet. He wasn't speeding. He hadn't run a light. There was no reason for a stop, but Jamal knew better than to assume reason had anything to do with it. Two officers approached. Officer Kyle Driscoll, tall and broad, took the driver's side. Officer Brent Kessler, leaner but equally intimidating, hovered near the passenger door. "License and registration," Driscoll snapped. Jamal handed them over. "May I ask why I was stopped?" Driscoll exchanged a look with Kessler. "Your taillight's out." That was a lie. Jamal's car had passed inspection days ago, and the reflection showed both brake lights working. "Are you sure about that?" he asked calmly. Driscoll's tone darkened. "Sir, step out of the vehicle." Tension crept into Jamal's limbs. His legal instinct screamed to comply, but his experience told him this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a setup. "I'm not stepping out unless you tell me why." Kessler smirked. "Because we said so." Driscoll yanked open the door. Jamal barely had time to react before he was pulled forward, his seatbelt catching his chest. "What the hell are you doing?" he shouted. They didn't answer. Kessler twisted his arm behind his back. Metal cuffs bit into his skin. "You're resisting," Driscoll said coldly. Jamal's heart pounded, not from fear, but from rage. He'd seen cases like this. Now he was living it. The courtroom buzzed with quiet chatter as Judge Margaret Holloway took her seat. Known for her no-nonsense demeanor, she barely looked at Jamal. To her, this was routine, just another case. The prosecutor, Richard Calloway, stood tall with confidence. "This is a simple case," he began. "An individual escalated a routine traffic stop into a physical altercation with law enforcement." Jamal exhaled slowly. The arrogance was staggering. Calloway continued. "The defendant refused lawful orders, became aggressive, had to be restrained." Objection. Jamal's public defender, Thomas Rivera, shot up. "There is zero evidence my client was aggressive." "Overruled," the judge said, waving him off. The officers took the stand, lying through their teeth. "He was combative from the start," said Driscoll. "He tensed up. We feared for our safety," added Kessler. Jamal sat stone-faced, fists clenched beneath the table. He had fought corruption his entire career, and now he was drowning in it. Rivera called Jamal to the stand. He walked slowly, head high, every eye on him. The prosecutor paced, trying to rattle him. "Mr. Winslow," he said, "did you comply with police orders?" "I asked why I was being ordered out of my car," Jamal said evenly. "Which is not illegal." Calloway smirked. "But you didn't comply, did you?" "There was no lawful reason to." Then Jamal leaned forward, voice calm and clear. "Before we go any further, I should probably disclose something." He opened his briefcase. Rivera tensed. The room froze. Jamal pulled out his badge. "I'm Jamal Winslow, Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District Silence." The judge looked up. The officers stiffened. The prosecutor's face went pale. "Excuse me?" Calloway muttered. "Did I stutter?" Jamal replied. The courtroom had shifted. The power dynamic flipped. Now, they all realized the mistake they'd made. Judge Holloway cleared her throat. Would the officers like to amend their statements? No response. Jamal leaned in again. "Your Honor, I'd like the court to pull dispatch call logs from the night of my arrest. The judge hesitated, trapped. Denying the request would bury evidence. Approving it would destroy the officer's case. Request granted. The officers broke. Kessler shifted nervously. Driscoll's jaw clenched. They knew it was over. By the next morning, the story had gone viral. Federal prosecutor wrongfully arrested. Judge accused of bias. Social media exploded with video clips. Protests erupted. Activists demanded accountability. Journalists dug into Judge Holloway's past rulings. And then, a leak. Internal police records, emails, testimonies from other black drivers. This wasn't about one man anymore. It was about a system that had been allowed to operate in the dark until Jamal turned on the lights. The case reached the Louisiana Attorney General. And when Jamal returned for the verdict, everything had changed. Judge Holloway's face showed it. The courtroom was silent. She exhaled. After reviewing the evidence, the court finds the defendant not guilty. A wave of emotion washed through the room, but Jamal didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because it wasn't about him anymore. The court will also forward all materials to the state attorney's office, the judge added. The officers' faces fell. The courtroom erupted. For once, the system turned its gaze inward. Jamal stood, staring at the judge, the prosecutor, the cops. He thought of all the people who never got their day in court, the ones whose names no one would remember. As he walked out into the crowd, people cheered, but he wasn't smiling, because this wasn't justice. This was just a beginning. If this story made you think, even for a second, then ask yourself, how many more stories like this are out there? How many never get heard? It's not enough to just see injustice. We have to challenge it, share this story, talk about it, pay attention. Because the more people who refuse to look away, the harder it becomes for these stories to be buried. And that's how change begins.